Robert Basil Ngui is the MP for Yatta Constituency. Good morning, Mheshimiwa.
Good morning.
How are you?
Eric. Me, I'm well.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How are you?
Safi sana. Karibu to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you. Why not call this it?
We don't do cold power here. We don't do cold power. So you get our message.
Yes,
Go there and
I'm told the road has stayed more than enough. And that is worrying.
Yes.
Maybe the contractors may not have the capacity to do the job.
Hapana.
Huh?
Hapana.
So you think it's not about the capacity?
Hapana.
If the contractor does not have the capacity, then the procurement committee should go to committee.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Because they
Directly.
give a job to somebody who does not have the capacity.
It is their job to ensure that whoever they give the job has the capacity. And if that person doesn't, don't even bother taking them to court. Just take them to committee direct.
Just tell them, kaeni hapo committee.
That's an interesting one. But how come the Chinese are able to deliver on time? That's a question.
That's the question you ask. That road is incomplete. The number of people who've died, pedestrians, trying to cross the road because you have no flyover, no pedestrian crossing, nothing.
Even the markings there.
No road markings.
Nada.
Those
are the questions, please.
No, that one you're right. Because I used to use the road when I used to work in Uganda. And apparently when you drive, even there are no sign, like the signage, sometimes they leave those
road is under construction.
Debris on the road.
Yeah.
So you come at night and visibility, particularly because of the fog,
is
limited. And then you find yourself, you bump into these debris and your car gets damaged and no one to repair for you.
Yep.
So I think your questions are valid.
Yeah.
And I need to follow it up in Parliament.
There's a child who crosses one side of the road and goes to the other side of the road to school. Okay?
Yes.
That child is in grade 1 or grade 2. That child thinks that's not how a road should look like. Because all their life,
that's what they've seen.
Is what they know to be a road.
And those roads are wider now. So it means crossing is more hazardous.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. And I've noted even some people are trying to remove those, the continuous, the blockage they use.
Yes.
So there are quite a number of people, since they want to cross to the other side, they try to find their way in.
They do find a way.
Yes, even some with the motorbikes. And you can imagine you are here, you want to use, someone is using a motorbike to cross to the other side, and the same person is varying another person. So it's a very complicated issue and very risky for that matter. So you are very right, and it means we are not professionals the way we are doing our things.
Yeah. Anyway, welcome to the show. City will give you the day's proverb. Listen to it. Every week, City goes to one African country.
Yes.
He scouts for proverbs in that country, and every day he brings a new proverb. This week, he is in the Kingdom of Morocco.
Yes. This is the proverb. If you have a friend like honey, don't eat him all at once.
If you have a friend like honey, don't eat him all at once. Mheshimiwa Robert Ngui, what's your interpretation of this proverb?
An interesting one. It's like in marriage. When you are marrying a lady, culturally, we are not supposed to pay all the bride price. So you pay partially. It's a way to tell you need to be coming home all the time. But you see, if you pay once, once you complete everything, it means you are separated yourself with that family. So in other words, you need to leave some tracks.
Very good.
That's exactly what that proverb means. In the same way they say you don't bury or you don't destroy your bridges. Meaning where you're coming from, you may be forced to go back. So when that proverb exactly tells you so. It's like when you three of you are friends. So assume you move, you need to remain, you need to ensure you don't part in a bad way. Because tomorrow he may need you may need him. And that is the mystery of life.
That is very true indeed.
It is.
Yes.
I'd actually interpreted it differently, or translated it differently first. If you have a friend, like that friend you call honey.
Yes.
Anyway.
Just arrange yourself.
All right. So first, there are many people who don't know where Yatta is.
Yes.
Tulisoma shule Yatta Plateau.
Yes.
Yatta Plateau.
Yes.
What is it?
You know, the plateau, when you talk of the plateau, it stretches all the way from Machakos and it goes beyond Machakos to Kitui. And if you talk of Yatta, the constituency is from Nairobi, it's about 1 hour, 1 hour, and a half, depending on the vehicle you're driving. It's a nasal region by all the characteristics of a nasal region. Although, unfortunately, we were almost knocked off the ASAL categorization. And even recently, I initiated the request to the Minister of Agriculture to review the constituency to be put back to ASAL region. Yatta is also endowed with a number of minerals. You know, we have the granite stones, we have the marble stones, we have the ballast stones, the largest deposit. Yet, majority of my constituents are poor. They are not able to feed
largest
themselves.
Deposits of
Granite stones, the marble stones, and also the ballast stones. That's why you find, if you go in all the 5 wards, you'll find all these stones. But majority of my people were poor. When you look at the soil, we have the best soil. Actually, if Israelis were to come to Kenya, I think they'd go to Yatta to pick the best soil for agriculture. But few of our people are able to do agriculture.
Why?
Because we are dependent on rainfall, rain-fed agriculture. The Yatta Canal, which was dug back in, I talk of 50s, the time of colonial period, still serves few people, but yet many are not served by this particular canal. It gets water from Thika River. The Thika River, sometimes the water level goes down. And when it goes down, the supply to the canal also goes down. The other important thing people need to know, Yatta is earmarked for Yatta Dam. The Yatta Dam, myself, I pushed for it to be gazetted. It was among the 35 dams that were gazetted. But up to date, the contractor has never begun work. We are even asking, instead of affordable housing, why can't the president prioritize the lodging of these dams? Remember, today, Kenya is a net importer of what we use. We're importing all the food we consume, most of the food we consume. And if you are the net importer of food, what does that mean? Your shilling will continue being weak because you are exporting almost nothing. So the balance of trade will remain negative. If you look at Yatta, the people of Yatta, I would say they're industrious. The people who are interested to be able to, to be innovative, to do quite a number of things, to contribute to the economy. But they're not empowered, they're not supported. So population-wise, I have about 300,000 people, registered voters, about 80,000 people. The constituency is so expansive because I'm bordering Gatanga constituency on the upper side, I'm bordering Thika constituency on the other side, I'm bordering Masinga on the lower side, Kitui on the other side, that's Kitui Rural, and on the other side, near Adhiriv, I'm bordering Mwala constituency. If you fuel your car when I was campaigning, from one corner of the constituency to the other, you'll find if you are using, let's say, a V8, by the time you cross on the other side, it's blinking, needing more fuel. So it tells you it's an expansive constituency and it's not a walk in the park. It needs someone who is ready if you really want to do campaigns. Yes.
And yet, these are not new issues that we talk about.
Yes.
The issues faced in this area are, can that idea or that reality is replicated around the country.
Yes.
And so what we are looking at now then is it possible to have a hybrid system whereby politicians who must do their politicking in order to remain alive can still also do their job when it comes to what happens legislatively as well as representation and as well as oversight? Because it doesn't make sense, for example, that for 30 years, I mean, just look at how ridiculous it sounds, that for 30 years, a contractor, and again, the same thing we see all over the place, right here outside the gate, behind here, different parts of the country, that a contractor has been on ground and for 30 years has not done anything. And it's okay. Because if it was not okay, something would have been done about it. So what we are assuming now is that members of parliament who legislate, who oversight, who represent, see the situation and it's okay.
They keep quiet.
No, they don't. It's okay. They're keeping the silence means it's all right. Because if they didn't feel that it was all right, we would hear them making some noise. We would see some kind of movement, some kind of agitation. We would see that there would be insistence on getting things done.
Case in point, when there was a delay in CDF, did you see?
Oh, yes.
Did you hear?
Yeah.
But
so when it comes to the things that when we go, you talk about fueling a vehicle from one end to the other. At that point, when Kenyans were being told, give me your vote, give me your vote, why don't we see the same fervor and vim when things are not going right to say, fix this road, feed this child, stock this hospital?
Now, what you are saying is right. And I think the problem goes to, I would say, myself as a legislator and others. You find, if you go to parliament today, the parliament is divided. We have the Azimio, we have the Kenya Kwanza. And most of the Azimio members, actually we have few now are left with Azimio. You find some are now daring of the Kenya Kwanza. And when you reach a point where instead of deliberately questioning the government, regardless of which side of the party you are in, you find some people feel, when I tell the government this is not right, it's like you're fighting the government. That is a kind of message, and that is where majority of the legislators are keeping quiet. The Kenya Kwanza team are those who are affiliated from Azimio to Kenya Kwanza. They are like, they want to please the president all the time. Instead of telling the government, here you are failing, here you're not doing your job. When you talk of the CDF, you know CDF, it is one of the funds where when you move to whole constituencies, you can really see what the CDF has done. And for many people who don't understand, 99% of CDF goes for development. Only 1% pays salaries. The other funds that have been devolved, most of it goes to pay salaries. And if you talk of before Kibaki got to power in 2002, CDF used to be there, but not CDF. It used to be Latiff, the money which used to be channeled through county government and also through the ministries.
The local
yes. And we could rarely see anything on ground. The school infrastructure was in deplorable state. If you go today, most of the constituencies, the 290 constituencies, if you use constituencies as a standard measure of development, you can see something that has been done with the CDF. And that is where we tell people, CDF, as much as people think is members' parliament, MPs' money, it's not MPs' money. Talk of bursaries. Today, most of the poor are supposed to take their kids to school. What is happening? With the delayed disbursement of CDF money, the poor, their kids are at home. By the rich, their kids have gone to school. And when you go to the constituency, people asking you, Mheshimiwa, what is happening? So the pressure mounting from the people, and also you as a person, seeing that most of my constituents and most of the poor, their kids are at home. It doesn't need a genius to tell you, go and say, enough is enough. We need the money. And that is why you see MPs saying, we need the money. When it goes back to what you have indicated, one of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, as a state officer, someone who has a duty to deliver services equitably across the country, you think like a tribal person. You think I'm supposed to deliver, take resources to where I come from. If I tell you, I can give you a good example, Thika Super Highway. It was done by Kibaki. The reason for Thika Superhighway was to decongest and ensure free or smooth flow of traffic. What is happening? Today is congested. Why? You find someone coming from Nyeri wanting to go to Mombasa. All of them are getting themselves to the Thika Superhighway. When, if there was no tribalism, we have another road that can connect from Gatanga, cutting across my constituency through a place we call Makuyu, gets all the way to Kitui, and then you join Mombasa, Nairobi Highway. And someone who has no business coming to Nairobi can use that road as an alternative. And that's how you decongest the road. But no one will pump money there, thinking that is an Azimio area. Well, in the actual sense, instead of you looking at your country and understanding how, if I do this, what will be the ripple effect? If that road, like the one I'm mentioning, joining Nyeri, Nairobi Nyeri, was tarmacked all through, cutting across Yatta constituency, cutting across Kibwezi, Kitui, Kibwezi, you join the Mombasa-Nairobi highway, then you'll have decongested your Thika superhighway by a big margin. But today, everyone, even people with no business in Nairobi, are forced to use that road. Now you beat the logic. The motive for the superhighway was to ensure smooth flow of traffic. Today, all the time, is jammed with cars. And it is not that road alone. There are quite a number of other roads. But the people who are responsible of designing where to tarmac, they are having the tribal mindset with them. They think if I put money here, I'm benefiting these people who did not vote for president. And that is the kind of thinking we have. If you go to advanced economies, I used to stay in Denver in the United States. I asked them, what did you do to ensure all the roads are tarmacked? They told me, when you collect taxes here, it is commensurate with the services. And they don't care. Doesn't matter where you come from or which area you represent, but you direct money where there is need. That is lacking in Kenya. And it tells you why those roads you are mentioning have remained that way for long. We have many areas with a lot of potential, but money is never pumped there to unlock that potential. I've given you an example of Yatta. Today, I saw you the other day, I was even questioning the DC, who is actually becoming political. Why are you bringing relief food? You are giving people 3 kilos. A 3 kilogram of rice and beans, you are giving to a household of about 10. How many days are these people going to eat this food? It's one meal, and you are calling it relief food. And the same people you are giving that 3 kilogram, they are spending 400 shillings to come and collect 3 kilogram. I told them this is a joke, and we have to be serious, because what is the logic? Instead of giving them relief, why don't you unlock the potential, invest money in those dams, and then direct water, the water flow into Indian Ocean to those dams to support irrigation,
Do conversations such as this happen within the walls of the Legislative Assembly? Do they actually?
Unfortunately, we are not given the room to discuss some of these issues.
What does that mean?
The reason being, like for example, I'll give you an example, and it's something I even raised with the Speaker.
Yeah.
Myself being the chair for first-time MPs in Kenya, when I go to Parliament, it was shocking. You slot that card for you to speak. You can stay there the whole day without being given a chance to speak.
What does that mean? Somebody did not see the card,
no,
did not go in the right slot, they pick the slot and decide they're not going to give it to you?
Sometimes they use they refer as ranking members, someone who has served more than one term. They are prioritized when it comes to speaking in Parliament.
Why are they prioritized?
They call them standing orders, and we said we need to revise this because we are all equal to the eyes of people who elected us. But unfortunately, it's happening in our Kenyan Parliament. When it comes to speaking, sometimes now when the house is divided between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, they may say these are Azimio people. Whatever they're going to say is negative to the government. So instead of allowing you, giving you a free chance to speak, they deliberately deny you that chance.
By giving it to somebody else?
Yeah, you slot your card. And Mwananchi is watching, doesn't understand what's going on. The other day, I found a discussion taking place in Parliament where a very essential bill was being discussed. And the House was having like 4 people.
4 people?
4 people. Then I told them, my friends, even our standing orders are clear. It has to be 2/3 of members of Parliament. How come a very essential bill is discussed by 3 people? They told me, Basil, if you don't want to listen, to sit and contribute, leave. Then I told them, look, first, it's wrong to have 3 people deliberating on a bill because it's it's against our standing orders. Number 3, I told them, why are you hurrying the bill? Why can't we wait when everyone is there to contribute? You see, I was not given a chance even to hear my voice.
When the president came to Parliament just a couple of months ago. Were there 3 people in Parliament?
It was full house.
Okay.
But you see, when he made his statement, what happened? Was there any room to ask questions? He made a very long speech and then he left.
Then you had time to discuss it.
We had time to discuss
Thereafter.
it. And if you listen to my clip, my contribution to that speech, I was clear. I told the president the speech was long and boring. And I had the reason why I told him it was long and boring. Because there was nothing tangible out of the speech. You see, you need to tell your citizens, it's better to have 4 points. Instead of having so many points, and yet they don't resonate to the people you are representing. Remember our country today. The other day I was telling people, don't even focus on the dollar. Look at the local currencies, how they are performing against our currency. Kenya shilling today is exchanging 50 shillings to the Tanzanian shillings. Uhuru left it when it was 22 shillings. Uganda shillings, Kenya shilling to Uganda, before Uhuru left office was at 35 shillings. Today is at 24 shillings. So what does that tell you? We are not doing well. There was a lot of focus to dollar, and we forgot even reevaluating our currency, how it is performing against the local currency.
Robert Basil Ngui is the MP for Yatta constituency. In which county is it? Is it in Kitui or Machakos?
Machakos County.
It's in the border. It's the borders.
I'm bordering Kitui. I'm bordering Kiambu. And
a bit of Muranga.
Yes.
Gatanga is in Muranga, right?
Yes, Muranga, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, it's a big constituency. We are talking about the role of leadership in the country. Mheshimiwa, you've told us many things about, what you see as a first-time member of parliament and what you're encountering. As we continue the conversation, first of all, I'll tell you about water. You've told us about the natural resources of Yatta, which include what, number 1?
Magnesium.
No. Yatta.
Oh,
Yatta.
sorry, granite.
Granite.
Granite, not ground nuts.
I said, you want granite. I said granite.
There's granite. There's what else?
The marble stones.
Marble.
There is ballast stones.
Yes.
Soapstone.
No.
And you have not even gone to the sand. And sand is also a natural resource.
Oh,
It is
If
very
it's
much.
properly managed in terms of when you're exploiting.
Kenya
when you
is
harvest it.
full of those natural
And we have
resources.
also water. Water is a natural resource because I have water flowing to Indian Ocean. Because the river cuts through my area as well. Then I have the Thika
River also.
Remember, Thika River is what takes water to the 7, the hydroelectric
The 7
dams.
faults.
7 faults.
Yeah. So if you look at all that, the water supply, then you ask yourself, why do we have citizens who are not able to feed themselves?
Yes.
And for your information, I might be the first MP. There's a technology we have tried to innovate, which is locally, it is a mode of renewable energy or green energy. Why am I saying is a green energy mode of technology? It does not use electricity, the pump we are making, does not use solar, does not use diesel, does not use petrol. It uses pressure and volume. So this pump, basically, we create a granted along the flowing river. And then we install the pump there, which is locally fabricated by the welders. And then you can be able to pump water to any place in terms of the distance you choose. You only play around with the pressure and volume. So I'm doing it, actually. I'm taking water to schools
and it's
using
working?
CDF. Yes, working. At the other time when I made my proposal to the CDF board, they were shocked. The whole board had to come to my constituency to see what I'm telling them before they could approve my
Clearly,
proposals.
that board is full of people who didn't take physics seriously in school.
Yes, maybe. And then I told them, look, with this, you'll even assume at some point you stop the CDF. These people will be able to sustain themselves. And these are the kind of resilience building programs that Kenya needs. So I'm taking water to schools. And once I get water to schools, then I also distribute all the water to go to the communities for them to be able to use for small farming. And if we were doing it at large scale, particularly when we get the dam, which will now sustain water flow throughout the seasons, then you are assured my community will be food secure. But what is going on in Kenya? There's a lot of talking, but when it comes to actions, most of our priorities are upside down. We all know what is the priority now of our government, affordable housing. And you ask yourself, if you go to the rural areas, how many people sleep in the streets. The percentage is like zero.
It's negligible.
Yeah, most of the people have their own homes. It's only that the standards vary.
But they have a home.
They have a home. So instead of pushing or forcing people to have affordable housing, why don't you analyze the needs of your people and prioritize them based on the realities of each particular area? If you come to urban areas, there you can talk of affordable housing within the slum areas, but still you need to do it in a way that resonates with the people. We saw a program that was being spearheaded by UN Habitat some years back of slum upgrading. What happened? They constructed the houses, but the people were supposed to say those houses, they sold the houses and went back to the slums. So when you hear someone pushing strongly for affordable housing without engaging the citizens and understanding what are the needs of these people, then you start smelling a rat. You say something maybe is behind what we see. But if we were to prioritize and pump money to where it's needed to unlock the potential of this country, you will create those employment you are talking about, and you make your people to be self-reliant, and eventually you'll have a progressive country as opposed to what we are seeing.
I see very many smokes and mirrors in these conversations that we keep having and what I keep hearing from our leaders. So, for instance, we have in the National Assembly alone 290 members elected from a constituency such as yourself, 45 elected from a county as women representatives, 10 nominated, 345 people who go to the National Assembly. They're expected to work in the National Assembly every day, representing, legislating, oversighting, plus others in some areas, helping with development through CDF and other funds. But what we hear often is a conversation about the division in the House and a focus on what the government is doing or is not doing. What Parliament is doing or is not doing seldom becomes the conversation. And I go back into what Ndu was asking earlier. So as elected leaders who have a responsibility to your constituents, to the people and the Republic of Kenya, a constitutional responsibility, you swore an oath, and we all saw you saying conscientiously.
Yes.
That oath says that you need to do something for the Republic. It is not true that the bulk of the budget that you passed in Parliament is going to housing. It is not true. It is not true that the bulk of money that you passed in Parliament is not going into some of these areas that you're talking about. You passed a budget. You had opportunity to discuss a budget at committee level, at the whole house, come and talk to your constituents before you pass that budget and allocate money. And then thereafter follow up on what that money is doing. So when I hear members of Parliament from Yatta, from everywhere, coming here and pointing fingers and saying, but you see now, we need this, for example, in my area, we need this in my area, we need this from the... I ask you, what have you done about that?
In the budget.
Yes.
Good
because
question.
Everything is all about budget.
Yes.
And then you follow it up with, this was the plan. If the National Treasury has come with a medium-term strategy, is your issue in the medium-term strategy? Is it being funded in a budget? Is it being implemented as per budget?
You know, it's easier said than done.
I would imagine.
When you are making the budget, there's a process which is followed.
Yes.
And not all our inputs are taken on board in the budget.
Of course.
And remember what I said, the divisions between the Kenya Kwanza, the ruling party, and the other coalitions. Sometimes you find what interests the ruling party, it is what goes to the budget. People sit, deliberate for many weeks, months in hotels, expensive hotels, but the final product, it's crafted at the house in the hill. What is presented to us sometimes is not what passed or what came out of the committee. And that is an unfortunate scenario. You find the whipping, you hear someone is whipped. Those groups where, like, let's say now the majority party that is the UDA, the Kenya Kwanza, they are told this is what the priority of the government, regardless of what came out from other people's representatives, that is elected leaders. When it comes to the floor, the whole whip has been done from the speaker all the way because they are all aligned to the ruling party. The rest, you are just there making noise. And then the vote which is taken in Parliament, where the eyes have it, then you are there watching, and then you are completely frustrated. That is exactly what happens. But if we meant well for the country, where you don't care which party you belong to, we would have a budget that resonates with the needs and the wishes of the people.
Are you saying that a majority of MPs don't mean well for the country?
Majority of them, they are more to what their parties tell them. And that is particularly the ruling party. And I've told you categorically, I'm saying it as it is. Where you see this is right, but you don't do it. Look at what happened. We passed 2 budgets. The first budget was done in June. Then there was a supplementary budget. And as of today, do you know we don't even have a penny for development programs? Particularly if you talk of it like the CDA. We don't have any penny for that. Most of the ministries, they are still talking, where is the money? So what was the purpose of having a very ambitious budget when you don't have the money? Why can't you have a thin budget which you know for sure you'll be able to implement?
Okay. So, if what you're saying, you're not the only one to have said this.
Yes.
You're not the only one to have complained about this particular process.
Yes.
In the House. But in order for us to get some insight, let me ask the flip side of the question so that we can then now know where we are. Because there's the people of Kenya who are going to be like, wait a minute, this is actually not happening in the way in which it ought to. Then perhaps we need to rethink our decisions. But okay,
correct.
Here's the question. If the switch was flipped, and those who are in opposition today are in the ruling party,
yes,
would the same thing be happening? Would we still not see that it is those who are in the majority that have their way, that it is those who are in the majority then who are able to control the budget? It doesn't matter which party you are in. So long as you are in the majority, this practice is what happens in Parliament. Is that what we are saying?
What you are saying, unfortunately, it could be the same.
Okay.
Let me be honest to you.
Okay.
Although, it all again depends who is head of state. I'll give you a reference to the time when Kibaki was the president of Kenya. It is the only time when delegated authority was working, where you don't micromanage or interfere with independent government institutions. During that particular period, you could see a budget to some extent which was resonating with what people want to see. But today, we don't have that independence. You find, as much as this is what we want, the top man, what he indicates or what he wants is what takes precedence. You saw a situation whereby the executive took 2.4 trillion out of 3.6. Then you ask yourself, what development programs sits in the executive? Almost nothing. But if you go to other economies where people are patriots and they think about the citizen and the country as a whole without caring which part of the country did I get votes, where I did not get votes, where you are delivering to the people to ensure your country moves forward and you uplift people from poverty, like what the Chinese did in the 90s. Those budgets, they are done in a way that the situation on the ground is integrated in those budgets. But when you come to our country, that's not the case.
So the 3 major themes under which members of parliament fall,
yes,
for representation, legislation, and oversight, are not happening.
It is happening, but not to the...
For the benefit of the people. Remember, for the benefit of the
not
sovereign.
Not to the degree we expect it to happen.
We can even talk about expectations, but at the very bare minimum.
Yes.
At the very bare minimum, because of what you're saying, what you've said is that there is power that's being usurped from the hands of an arm of government that ought to work in tandem with the executive and the judiciary. But that is not happening. And it is at this place that we see that the will of the sovereign then comes to life. But that is not happening.
Let me tell you, when you talk of representation, it doesn't stop at Parliament. Like what I'm doing now is part of representation, telling the citizens
that this thing is not working.
How the situation is. Because people need to understand where is the problem. Otherwise, if you don't understand the problem, you'll not solve the problem. Because it's like when you go to a doctor, they need to understand the cause. They don't basically look at the symptoms. So representation is beyond Parliament. Like now, we try our level best in Parliament. If it doesn't work, you go beyond, where you tell people exactly what's happening. Then oversight. The other day, there were things, the relief items I mentioned, food, which were brought to my constituencies. Do you know I was not informed at all? And I'm a member of Parliament.
Brought by whom?
National government. I went to the CS. The CS telling me that I sent some food to your constituency on this particular day. I told him, you have my number? Why did you not inform me? Then the DCC, who is supposed to work very closely with the elected leaders, she did not inform me as well. Then I asked her, the items which now you're telling us to distribute to people, one is too little. Number two, there are many essential items which are missing. Then I asked her, could I say there was a ploy or something which you guys were trying to cover for not letting me know what came from national government so that I play my role of oversight? Because oversight means, one, if consignment is coming, you are supposed to be there to receive and reconfirm whether what was sent has been dispatched. We had time of Kanu when things used to disappear. You find government items be sold in supermarkets or in shops. And now they're taking us back to that. Simply because you are elected on the opposition, they think you are I'm not an opposition. The government has three arms: executive, judiciary, and legislator. And any member of Parliament, regardless of which party they come from, they're part of legislation, they're part of the government. But now, we are in a situation whereby the moment someone sees you as Azimio, they think your job is critic. It's not a critic, but telling the government this is right, this is wrong. And I would expect the UDA people to do the same.
Mweshimo, it is strange that we have a new constitution. We have all manner of freedoms and all manner of rights.
Yes.
And what we call the political space is really open. You can have conversations such as one we're having without even fearing that anything will happen to you.
Correct.
And yet, at a time when that fear was real, people would talk. And they would open their mouths. Even people who are supposed to be in Kanu.
Yes.
And in Kanu would say, no, we don't agree with this.
Yes.
No, this one is not right. They paid a steep price for it.
Yes.
Some of them.
Yes.
The problem isn't the ruling government. The problem is the character and the personalities individually who are in Parliament.
Yes.
Judged by what they do within the constituency and judged by what it is they actually do when they get to Parliament.
Correct.
And there are people who do what they're supposed to do in their constituencies and in Parliament. And the Hansard is proof of what they do. But there is a majority, not a minority, who seem to be sitting back waiting for someone to call them, to ask them to side with them. And because siding also means that there's some money involved in it. It is that watered down integrity, the complete deficit of it that is being exhibited, that is a problem. Not the government in power. The world over, people in power do exactly this. Multipartyism came about as a result of that, knowing that if you only have one party where someone is in control, not much will happen. It always happens. Now, if we elect people who, when the first nod, they come running, then
what do you expect?
Then woe betide us. We have to wait another 5 years because you in the August House ensured that the tools were given to recall you. They're in theory, but they're completely dismantled. We actually can't recall you even if we want to. So, if someone is doing what they do, and this is where the vigilance of the citizenry come in, we see, because they get re-elected. We see, because the wananchi know, this person is working for us. Any member of parliament or any politician who's doing what they're supposed to do, you don't need to be told, you will see it. And people will tell you that this person actually has our interests at heart. Unfortunately, you're not many.
How do you rescue parliament from this chokehold of not the executive, the president. Uhuru had a chokehold on Parliament. Ruto clearly has one on Parliament. How do we rescue Parliament from this? The strong Parliament that we created in the Constitution.
Well, that's an interesting one. Because you see, for you to rescue, and it goes to what my brother Muga mentioned, it's about individual characters. Because if we had what I refer as patriots, people would not sing the song of their boss or their party boss. People would be there to represent the people who elected them without necessarily pleasing a certain person. Then would have done our best to rescue the situation we are in. But today, as I said, the whipping aspect is working. Where you find guys on this side, no one, even if you are pushed to the wall, they are not able to talk. They talk when they're having tea. But when it comes to this, they are quiet. Then you are left with only few of us who are actually talking and saying, this is not right. We can't continue like this and expect our country to move forward. So it is a situation we are in, and it is something that, as you said, citizens need to do a scorecard, basically. Because now it is back to the citizen to do a scorecard. You saw what happened during the time of demonstrations. People thought it was politicians who were telling people to demonstrate. But the push was coming from the people. When the cost of living is going up, majority of the citizens are struggling. You have done adjustments, you come with different modes of coping strategies, but then still not working. Then what happens? People invoke the two articles. Article 1, where the power belongs to the people, and the people may exercise that power directly or indirectly. You know, and then Article 37, which talks of peaceful demonstration and picketing. You know, so those two were invoked when a situation like this.
And that's what should happen again.
Now it's unfortunate. Maybe yes.
Thank you for joining us.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.